Ignore the unmade bed, okay? There are much more serious things in this world going on than an unmade bed. Mothers around the world would be very upset to hear that, but still. I never thought I'd be talking about this. Honestly, I'll be 100% honest with you. Not one thought in my mind 2 weeks ago was like, in December, I'm going to make a video talking about how NASCAR is never running the 550 horsepower package this season, or this upcoming season. That was never in my mind. Like, I was like, for the last 2 years, I accepted my fate. I was like, I'm just, you know what? I just won't watch those races, and we'll move on. Well, things have massively changed. Before I give any of my opinions or thoughts, let's go listen to a clip from good old Steve O'Donnell, which we've not seen recently. I don't even think he has a Twitter account anymore, because he gets bullied so much on it. So play that.
I think it's within a range, Bob. So if we go 670, that's absolutely within a range to attract a new OEM. We've had discussions with a number of new OEMs and have factors within that, so that wouldn't be a detriment to someone coming into the sport. I would say we're more than likely going with that number across all of our tracks. We've still got kind of a few boxes to check post-test here where we get together with our OEs and the teams and just confirm that's the direction we want to go with. But everything we've seen so far tells us that that's the horsepower we want to target and go with.
Except for Daytona, Talladega, Atlanta? Or would you try?
Yeah, we'd have a different package for super speedways. You know, I've said often we've got the best engineers in the world working on these cars, and they've helped contribute with our team to the final design. So we've been able to narrow it down to the aero packages you see out there today, which again goes back to an effort where, you know, the constant talking to people about which direction should we go, what's the goal overall of what we want to see for our race fans. And I think everybody has that target in mind and is working together to produce the best racing we can. Right, it's how much drag's built into this car, and so when you look at a 550 package, to produce some of the similar results you saw, the horsepower levels would have to be so low that we just don't think it's the right move at this point. You know, you could certainly go out there and run 550, but from what we've seen in comparison to 550 to 670, we lean more towards 670. Certainly a little bit more spread out when you restart a race. But with the tire wear and what Goodyear's been able to do, what you're seeing is kind of that comers and goers that we used to have in racing, the ability to kind of maintain speeds. And at this point, it's just getting the drivers, you know, to a comfort level where you can run too wide, where you have the ability to pass, and where we don't have that wake that's so noticeable in the past. So I think it's a balance between where we were with maybe a restart of 5 laps of, you know, 3 wide to, you know, harder to pass during a run. To where as you look at this package, you're going to see hopefully, you know, some movement throughout the field throughout a run.
Now, there's a lot of interesting things here, and I want to talk first off about the OEMs. I'm struggling. I'll be honest. Like, let me actually just first say I'm very happy with this. Like, you guys know me. I'm extremely happy about this. I do not like that philosophy of racing that the 550 horsepower package produced. But I knew for a fact it wasn't the style of racing that NASCAR was chasing. NASCAR was chasing the OEM. And the OEMs were like, you know, we want to enjoy lesser horsepower, right? And now, so this is why this is a very big shock to me, is that we're not running with the 550 horsepower, and we're going to be running with 670. And apparently, the OEMs are okay with it. And it wouldn't deter from a new one to come in. And that's where I don't know if that's the truth, because the only reason we were doing this nonsense was to get a new OEM. OEM. I hate saying that word. OEM. Not to be disrespectful, but I just think you have to be really stupid to think that you were watching that style of racing, and in your heart of hearts, all honesty, no lies, you really liked what you were seeing with 550 horsepower. I don't believe that. I do believe that NASCAR had alternative motives to run that package to try to get a healthier sport. There's no way in my mind that I believe Steve O'Donnell legitimately liked what he saw. And, you know, it got to the point where he got bullied so much and he got so much hate on social media that he just left social media because he didn't want to deal with it anymore. And then he uses the same words. He said, we liked what we saw with 670 horsepower. So there's more to this. I just want to point this out. There's more to this. I don't think NASCAR will ever come out and say it because they're, being 100% honest, they're kind of in scramble mode right now. Did you expect they were ever going to 670? I don't think you did. I know I didn't. And I'm pretty sure not a lot of NASCAR drivers and teams were probably thinking No, probably not. So this is a very late decision. It is December 17th. It's a very late decision to shift like that and tell everyone, okay, we know we're gonna go 670 all the way. But guys, this is just so good. This is a massive, massive deal. There have been a lot of single car wrecks with this car, a lot of spins, because it is just a lot harder to drive, and that's a good thing to me. Let's be, a little bit honest. I have a few worries. I'm happy about a few things. Let's start with the positives. Obviously, no 550 horsepower. Steve O'Donnell said something interesting. He said that to achieve the racing that we saw last year, which was, just trash, but whatever. You want to try to achieve that, whatever. That the horsepower would have to go even lower because the drag on the car is not as severe as the Gen 6. So essentially what they're saying was, to achieve the racing last year, the speeds or the horsepower would have to be like 500 or 470 or whatever it was, which was a little bit confusing to me because every time I looked on video, the cars already looked extremely slow. So I don't know. Maybe what they were looking at is, or what they were thinking is that when teams get their own, find downforce here, find downforce there, find less drag here and there, that the cars would speed up. And the teams would get it to like 180, 182 or something, and then they wouldn't be able to race full throttle. Or there's other things they might be seeing where the car might not be reacting to dirty air as well as they thought it would. We have seen wrecks, very odd wrecks in testing where, for example, there would be two cars in front side by side, and the car behind would be in that dirty air, and then as soon as it gets in the clean air, it snaps and it wrecks, which is not good. So there have been, that's a little bit worrying because that snap is something that drivers can't really control. It's good to have a hard driving car, but if the car literally feels normal 1 second and then snaps the next second, it's like, well, what's going on here? So what I'm thinking is when they were testing the lower horsepower, which is what they thought they would go with, is that snap was just too excessive, too quick, it was happening too much, and drivers were just left stranded. They couldn't do anything. And so they went to 670. Drivers and teams said they liked it better. Wow, incredible. But they like more horsepower. It's like, whoa, wow. You ask drivers for the feedback and they say they like more horsepower. Wow, this is like rocket science. Mom, they like more horsepower. Wow. But I don't want to be disrespectful here, but really, like, this is not rocket science. Come on, really? So that's where I get into my worries, is like, I'm starting to question what NASCAR is really thinking about this car. I'm going to wait to see what drivers and teams say about it, and I think there's one thing that's very clear. Now that we're going to 670 horsepower, which is very similar to what Xfinity cars ran last year, and this car should be faster, so I mean, we are going back to what it should have always been, which is like, I'm hoping 190 plus entering the corners, off throttle time, multi-groove racing. Unfortunately, Chicagoland's not on the schedule, but Chicagoland would be a fantastic mile and a half if it was on the schedule now with this package. So that's what we're going back to. We're going back to pre 550 horsepower stuff, and with my opinion, a better car. But even for me, I have to see the car in race action a lot. The first few races are going to be very interesting to me to see how this car handles dirty air, how the car handles the switch from dirty air to clean air, and like when the car gains that level of downforce, is it snapping or what's going on? That's going to be very, very important to me. But we're no longer going to have any pack racing. We're no longer going to have any of that nonsense, artificial, full throttle trash. It's not happening, guys. We're going back to the good days of good racing and talent ruling, which also means bad news for the field because Kyle Larson legitimately might win another 10 plus races this season now that mile and a half actually will take talent. If that car is fast, GG to the rest of the field. Like, seriously, you guys don't stand a chance against Kyle Larson, but we'll see. So I'm very excited. I think you guys should be very excited. I think the drivers and the team should be very excited. And I think the first few mile and a half tracks that we go to is going to be very interesting. Really interesting. It's going to be must-watch TV. I think the number of cautions we're going to have is going to go up. I think the number of single car wrecks is going to go up. But side-by-side racing, talent, showcase will also go up. I think it's going to be very good. Now, let's get to the negatives. I do want to state I am worried that NASCAR is kind of just, they're panicking a little bit. I've heard things, I've heard rumors about that car, and like I'm still in the camp of, guys, I really believe this car is very good. I've looked at all of it. I'm not an expert, like I'm not a super, duper car techie guy, but just looking at certain things, the air coming under the spoiler, the rear diffuser, downforce being created under the car instead of over the car, which is very important. It shows, or it seems like it should be a very good race car. I'm just a little bit worried that what maybe the teams and the drivers are seeing and the NASCAR is seeing in the car is, like I said earlier, that snap, that just excessive, just bop right away and you just wreck and you really don't have control over the car. I mean, we literally get that in the video game. In NASCAR 21 Ignition, you're driving and then bop, snap, and you can't save it. So it's like that's something that's very dangerous because really as a driver you can't feel it, you can't save it, you have nothing to do, you're just setting duck. And if that was happening with the full throttle horsepower racing, or dirty air was just more excessive than they thought, and they thought, well, to get rid of this dirty air we have to go off throttle, which they should have done 3 years ago. But whatever, if that is the situation, and it's causing this late turnaround, it's gonna be a little scary. So like a lot of things still aren't confirmed. The size of the spoiler, it's 670 horsepower, but they might go with a 6-inch spoiler. They might go. They're testing out a 4-inch spoiler later today. They're testing out a 6-inch spoiler that's offset with a shark fin, a 6-inch spoiler that's center with no shark fin. The 4-inch spoiler. They're still testing all this stuff out. A lot of fans are automatically going like, "Oh, put the 4-inch spoiler." And guys, I've always been a thing about this. The spoiler is not a massive deal. It really isn't. Drivers do need a level of rear downforce, and if you give them very little front downforce and then very little rear downforce, they'll just wreck. So and it'll be very hard to race around other cars. So in my opinion, I think they should go 6. It depends on the speeds entering the corner, the amount of off throttle time and all that stuff. Again, you can easily change spoiler sizes. It's not a big deal. You can change it literally week on a week basis if you need to. But it's going to be very interesting to see how this works. And I need to just, we have to wait and see the first. I say the sample size will be the first 4 races that we have at 1.5 mile tracks early in the season. I don't know exactly what they are, but 4 races, 1.5 mile tracks early in the season. That will be the sample size that I'm going to use and judge this car on. And then we will see how it goes. I'm not going to overreact in the first race, the second race, the third race, or the fourth race. I want to take all 4 races, and I'm really, even testing, I don't really care what happens in testing. When this thing's actually on track, 670 horsepower, we see what the racing's like, we see how the car reacts around other cars, and I'll make my judgments there, and I think what NASCAR would have to do here or there to make it better. But I still have the hopes and beliefs that this car will run well in dirty air, that drivers will be able to move around, actually run behind someone, and not, you could actually run behind someone, catch them, and not have to move your line just because they're in that line. I have belief that this car can do that. My belief is stronger because now in the center of the corner at majority of tracks, we will be off throttle. You will not be on the throttle as much as we were with the 550 horsepower package, which means if both cars are off throttle, you're able to penetrate the dirty air better just by handling of the car. So if naturally you have a better handling car, you'll be able to just go, slide through that dirty air better if the airflow over the car is how NASCAR hopes it was designed. So we don't know that yet. I think biggest winners of today, Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson's a massive winner. Dirt track drivers, massive winners, because now it really is back in their hands. They're not relying on just the overall speed of their car. They really get to drive these things now. Highline will be back. Multi-groove racing will come back. It'll be more spread out. There will be victories where drivers annihilate the field by 7 seconds, okay? This will happen. And I want to make it very clear that I hope the majority of race fans do not overreact and be stupid when a driver dominates a race and wins by 8 seconds or something. I promise you, you'd much rather have that than artificial trash nonsense from Full Throttle Racing. You want to see the best drivers and the best teams use their skills because this is motorsport, okay? I promise you, with this package, 670, and this philosophy of racing, that you will get better racing between drivers, you will get more side-by-side finishes, more incredible finishes. How many finishes have you seen with 550 horsepower where it's like, 2 drivers going side by side? No, because the second driver gets stuck in dirty air from a second back. Okay? This philosophy of racing is the way to go. It's just about NASCAR getting that philosophy right with the car and the package that they have. I'm really hoping they get it right. I'm hoping that they adjust as many things as they need to, as long as this is the philosophy of racing we all agree with. If that's the case, I'm extremely happy. If Steve O'Donnell miraculously changed his mind the last 3 years and said, I want to go high horsepower, low downforce, okay, I don't know what changed your mind. I'm not going to get mad at you. I'm not really sure if you're being, honest yet. Like, are you being sincere, Steve? I'm not sure. I have no trust in you anymore because you've done your job so poorly. But this is better. I'm going to leave it there. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your day. And I was just going to say, like, just be patient. Be patient with it. I'm very happy with the decision. I think a lot of people are very happy with this decision. Just please, if there ever is a boring race with this philosophy of racing, just understand that there's 36 races a year, and not every race is going to be great. There's going to be a lot of boring races. It's all about the philosophy of racing. What provides winners and what's the right way to race and how to create better racing. This is the way. So I'm just really hoping everyone understands that. No one really overreacts. And you still get your plate races. You want that pack racing, Daytona and Talladega 4 times a year. You got it. Maybe even Atlanta, because Atlanta is going to be like a mini Daytona. So they might have to run a plate package there. So maybe even 6 races a year, you'll get that racing. So if you're like a massive fan for some reason of that package, you will get full throttle pack racing maybe 6 times a year, just like we always did, and some of those are still some of the best and most exciting races. It's a different style of racing. The thing is, we don't want that at the majority of tracks. That was always the key difference. That racing will stay, that racing was created because it was special. It was for safety reasons. It was not for, just trying to artificial full throttle pack racing and make it entertaining and stuff. That was not the initial reason for that. And I'm happy that we're going back to a style of racing that I think NASCAR should always be based around. So I'll see you guys later. Take care of yourself. Subscribe if you're new. Follow. Comment down below what you think. Hit the like button if you enjoy the video. And let me know what you think. This is very fun. So I'm very happy with it. Take care. Peace out.